So many companies that rely on monday.com have gone through major transformations recently. And what we've learned is that agility is key to moving fast. So, how do we empower our teams to move forward to reach that full potential while in times of transition? Tackling that question is Daniel Laria, our VP of R&D and Product and a founding member of monday.com. Take it away.
Hi everyone. It's super excited to be here, first of all. It's amazing setup and so fun to see every one of you. So my name is Daniel and I'm the VP R&D and Product at monday.com. I joined a bit over 6 years ago, and prior to that I worked at IBM and SAP. And today I'm going to share with you a story about how we empower teams through technology. And I really hope that the examples I'm going to share and the story will relate to you. And also, I really believe that these are examples that both tech and non-tech companies can take. So my greatest hope is that you'll be able to implement it later on in your day-to-day. So I think this slide represents our journey the best. You know, we love numbers, first of all, as you can see. But here you can see our journey over the last few years, and it's been super, super, super challenging. We had such an amazing hyper growth, and with that, you know, so many challenges that come along with it. You can see how we grew in terms of, you know, starting from the revenue, all through our customers, and most importantly, our team members. And I think that, you know, we had so many changes. You can imagine that in order to cope with this kind of rapid growth, you need to change yourself constantly. And when I thought about it, you know, changes are not only for hypergrowth companies, right? Like, we had so many changes forced upon us in the last years, starting from a global pandemic. You know, it transformed how we work entirely. Suddenly people are working from remote, different work patterns, all through the macroeconomic situation we have right now, that we as leaders in companies need to look and adjust and do lots of things. And as leadership, changes are hard, and leading a company through changing periods are especially hard. And I can tell you personally that when things need to change and you have challenges like that, for me, there are constant voices inside my head when I'm coming to work. You know, is everyone aligned towards what we need to do? Can we adapt fast enough? You know, we have competition, we have the market. And most importantly, how in this environment I can create a setup where my people can bring their best game to the table. And for us, it's like, I think that the best way for us at Monday to cope with this was culture. And now we see our teams. And we all know, you know, the traditional way of working, where you have like leadership, they see the reality, they interpret it, the reality, and then things go top down. But in Monday, we really believe in a kind of different way of working. It's more like a distributed way, where, you know, people are independent, they take ownership. Everyone looks at the reality, they have the ability to measure themselves, and most importantly, to move very fast. You can imagine that things that go top down takes a lot of time, right? And many times, you know, us as leaders, we have something in our heads, we understand it, we see things in a very clear way, and then it's the hardest feeling when you see it takes time for things to propagate throughout the organization. And I think that this kind of distributed structure creates teams that are empowered and can, you know, act in a very highly aligned fashion towards the same goals. So today I'm going to share with you 3 steps that I hope will help to understand how we do it at Monday. The first thing is about how can you make everyone understand the context, see the same reality. The second one is about driving ownership, okay? How can you make your teams take full ownership over everything that they cope with? And last but not least, how you can build a builder's culture where everyone owns both the problem but also the solutions to the problems that they find. So we'll go over these 3 steps with examples, and I hope you like it. So I think for me, when people ask me about challenges in leadership, this is the image I have in mind. You know, the dark side of leadership. Yeah, I think, you know, many times when, I don't know if you can relate to this feeling, but as leadership, you see problems, you see things that doesn't work well, and you have it all inside, and then you come to the office, and people are not aware. And for me, this is one of the biggest or the most challenging things, to feel that I'm alone, to feel that, you know, I'm seeing something, very, you know, hard feelings, and people are not in there with me. So in order to change that, what we do in Monday is we really try to make everyone see the same reality. And it starts, you know, this example is one of my favorite examples. What you can see here is our first company dashboard. The big number, yeah. Yeah, so the big number, the 50, is paying companies. Okay, we grew since then. But, you know, this kind of dashboard it takes like 2 hours to build it. You know, it's super simple. It's one number, one big number. But we got so much out of this simple step. So we had this dashboard on TVs inside our office, spread it around. Eran mentioned it earlier. And, you know, suddenly, this is what everyone are looking at. If it goes up, it's good. Let's see what we did, and let's do more of that. If it doesn't go up or even go down, everyone understands that there's a problem. And I think that having this single number for us as leadership helped us to align everyone and make them understand that this is what we care about. So it's super, it creates a laser focus. Suddenly people can't talk with you about anything else, you know, the feeling when things doesn't go well and people say, wow, I have this crazy initiative, it did this and that, but you see the results are not moving. So it's really hard, and this way everyone are together in this. And I think that for us, it really created a situation where everyone are working together, where you utilize everyone's brain into the challenges and also celebrate the successes together. And we have many more different examples of like creating such a context. On the left here, you can see something that we added later on. It's a daily SMS that was sent to every employee at the company at 7:30 a.m. And it included, you know, the key metrics and the things that we look at. And the effect of this one was amazing. Suddenly, people started conversations about the numbers, you know, when they saw it. And they came to the office, and remember the dark side of the moon we saw earlier? So it felt totally different because everyone were engaged in understanding what happened, how can we do things in a different way. And just lately, we even created an app, which is called Monday Morning. It's basically the same, but much more robust. You know, when things are scaling, you need to work more in order to have everyone this context. And it's actually something that we are planning to release next year also for our customers. But I think that, you know, these are all examples of sharing the same context. And what you get from sharing the same context, just 1 second before I move on. So one thing, you know, it's more on a personal note, but we invest a lot in making things also fun. So what you can see here, it's actually the evolution of the dashboard that we saw of the company dashboard. And we actually added sounds to it. So for instance, when a new sign-up has happened, you would hear this sound in the office. Think about an office with lots of television spread around, and you get this sound suddenly. A new paying account.
Woohoo!
So
with $10,000, we'd be millionaires.
So this is a new paying account, an upgrade, okay? Later on, we added the consultants group, and this is a sales deal. And last but not least, the partners, a referral. Okay, so, yeah. So you get the point. I think on top of it being fun, it's super impactful. And it's super impactful because suddenly we had a rhythm inside the office. You would sit at the office, you would hear these sounds, and suddenly people would say, you know what? I didn't hear a paying account for 3 hours. Is something wrong? And I think, yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing to see it. And I think these kind of things creates an attachment and creates a focus. And most importantly, a sense of belonging, a sense of that we are all in it together. And it's really amazing. So I think it's super important also to invest in these kind of things and make things fun. I don't know if you know, who here uses the Llama Farm in Monday? Oh, nice. So it's another thing that we added to our product, which shows llamas based on items in the board. So people use it to track projects and to celebrate. And we get so many, tweets about it and customers using it. And I think it's super connecting. So I really recommend investing in it as well. And just to sum up, if you create this kind of context for everyone, make everyone see the same reality, suddenly everyone feels part of the team. We are all in it together. And second, you get this laser focus around what you care about, around what drives the company forward, and a sense of alignment, which is without saying anything, actually. Moving on, so let's say we created this context and everyone sees the reality and they understand the company's performance. It's not enough. If you want this kind of thing to drive ownership also in the teams, you need to do it in other levels as well. So look at the photo at the bottom. You can see our Builders dashboard. Builders is an internal lingo. For us at Monday, it's the people who build the product, the engineering teams, the product teams, the design, data. And this dashboard is something that we created. When we created it, it was a great process. We talked about what drives the builders forward. How does the builders drive the company forward? And created this dashboard, which in every week opening, we are going one by one on the metrics and talk about them with the entire builders. And it, again, creates the same thing. But we didn't stop there. We really believe that in order to make teams independent and empowered, they need the ability to measure themselves as well. So you can see photos from an event that we had. We dedicated a whole week of the builders, and we created a week, we called it Every Team Deserves a Dashboard Week, where we actually, each team sat down together and built their own dashboard. And what we got is that we have a set of metrics that each team monitors daily, leaves the metrics. Everyone can see this metric and understand what the team is working on. And most importantly, the team can look on real-life results and take decisions, okay? And I think that this is the most important part, and this is how you can drive ownership, okay? So summing up what we got just from this step of having this all the way down, propagates all the way down to every team in the builders. First, immediate feedback from the real world. This is the way you can get feedback fast, do corrections, and we really believe in fast iterations and getting to perfection through iterations. But most importantly, suddenly you don't need, you remember the diagram from before, you don't need your manager or your manager or something like that to get decision. We have an agreement about which metrics drives the company forward, and teams can act by themselves. And suddenly you get a distributed structure where everyone can run fast, can take their own decisions upon the real-life results. So the last point is about, we talked about creating the context, we talked about empowering teams to be independent, and I really feel that's not enough. We also need to help teams to own both the problem and the solution. And for that, we need every team to be able to act independently on their problems. So this example is actually not from the builder's world. We we had everyone here experience COVID, and it was really hard. You know, I remember that one day we were at the office. The next day, suddenly everyone are working from home. And it was really hard, and we did a transformation. But as COVID slowed down, people started asking, can I come back working from the office? And how can I do it and feel safe? So Uriel, our VP of Operations, actually took this problem or took this challenge for himself and come up with an amazing idea. Let's provide tests each morning. Each person that wants to come to the office will get tested, and only if he's negative, he can get into the office. But guess what? People still didn't feel safe, okay? And when you asked them why not, they said, you know, it's okay that we have the test, but I don't know. People take the test, they don't take the test, you know, what's actually happening? So Uriel by himself created a Monday dashboard and an integration with WhatsApp that actually asks employees, did you take the test today? And shows the result on a dashboard at the entrance to the office. And this was huge. People saw it, gained confidence, and felt safe to come and came back to the office. And I think that for me, this example is like super important, because being a builder's state of mind, it means actually that you have all the tools that you need in order to solve the problem that you wanted to solve. Think about an alternative reality where Uriel needs to talk with the IT, and then the IT has some questions, so they schedule a meeting. But then, you know, suddenly things, you know, takes longer and longer and longer. And in this case, Uriel was able to own both the problem and take it end-to-end to the solution. And what we got is an extremely fast execution, first of all. Okay, instead of a process that takes, you know, few days, few weeks, it took 2 days. Okay, 1 day, and then 1 day after it was ready. Second thing is a cultural thing. You know, when people have the power to build their own tools, to build their own solutions to problems, they feel it's all up to them. Okay? Suddenly there's no excuses. Suddenly there is no dependencies. And I think that on top of all, it's super efficient, right? Because he needed only himself. So this is really huge, I think. And for us, this is one of the key things that we look and judge teams according to it, whether they can be independent, whether they can run fast and get both decisions by themselves, but also act on these decisions on the same way. So summing up, you know, we talked about these 3 things about how you can make everyone understand the context like you do, how you can empower your teams to take decisions, to be independent, to take full ownership, and also provide them the perfect setup in which they can do whatever they need to do in order to solve their problems. And I really feel, you know, changes happen all the time. It's not only with a global pandemic or if you have a macroeconomic situation. It's when a new team member joins. It's when you are working on a new project, when you add a new function to your organization. And for us, I think the best way to cope with these changes is to build teams that can act upon these changes, that can run fast, to be independent. And I think that this is a huge opportunity, because companies that empower their teams to be like that, suddenly the change, instead of something that frightens you or, you know, makes you nervous, it's rather a huge opportunity. So that's it. Thank you very much.